I don't get this much respect at home. Thank you all for being here. The Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee for Tuesday, March 19th is now in order. Ethan, take the roll, please.
Representative Travis. Here. Representative Todd.
Here.
Representative Shaw.
Here.
Representative Reedy. Representative Jones.
Here.
Representative Halsey. Representative Fritz.
Here.
Representative Darby.
Here.
Chairman Grills.
Here. Let the record reflect that Chairman Halsey and Representative Reedy are in other committees presenting right now. They will be with us shortly. If the audience would and the members of the committee would, we're going to go out of session. And if everyone would please stand, we're going to ask Matthew McClanahan, winner of the 2024 American Farm Bureau discussion meet, to do our prayer, and then Justin Hargrove, winner of the 2024 American Farm Bureau Excellence in Agriculture, to do our pledge. We're out of session.
If you would, I draw your attention to Proverbs chapter 27 that says this: "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations." On behalf of the state of Tennessee, we certainly appreciate this committee's work in ensuring the future of our nation's most important industry. Would you please join with me in a word of prayer? Gracious God, we come to you on this day to pray for our state, our country, and our world. Forgive us where we have fallen short for your call upon our lives. We pray that your wisdom and discernment would be upon the shoulders of our elected officials. On this day, we pray for the caretakers of your creation, those who toil in the fields, the farmer. Give our farmers strength for their difficult task, hear their prayers, protect, preserve, and prosper them, supply their needs. We lift our eyes to you, O Lord, from whence cometh our strength. You who owns cattle on 1,000 hills, instill in us a heart that may bring us to the end of each day, with a faith to persevere and a hope for the next harvest. We pray all this in the name of the Good Shepherd, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Justin Hargrove, you're recognized to do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You all may be seated. Thank you for that. We'll go back into session. Are there any personal orders this morning? Representative Travis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's a great honor and a privilege to have my lovely wife, one of the commissioners of the State Museum, here today, Laura Travis. Laura will give her 100th tour Thursday. Over 5,000 kids have got to come to the Capitol and the museum, the Agricultural Center, and see how it works up here. So, Laura, welcome. Love you.
Yes, we do welcome you, and we do have some condolences for you as well. Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to welcome my friend Willie Cade. His grandfather was actually Theo Brown, who was a storied inventor for John Deere. He invented the manure spreader. Willie Cade is with the Farm Action, and we are working together to make sure that farmers have the right to repair their own equipment. Agricultural right to repair. We'll be having a press conference at 12 noon, but I want to welcome Willie Cade and his wife for coming down here to Tennessee, and thank you.
Are there any other personal orders? Seeing none, I will like to introduce my mom and dad, Jack and Ann Grills. They're back there in the back, sitting beside Mr. Stan Butt. If y'all have any good stories to tell them, keep them to yourself. And I also have my oldest daughter with me this week, Hadley. She's sitting back there beside Miss Carol. And y'all make them feel welcome if you would, please. Before we get off into the Ag Day festivities, I'm going to turn this over to Tyler. You have any words of wisdom for the rest of us today, Mr. Tyler?
Yes, Chairman, I do. And they come to you from a farmer with the greenest thumb ever, a legendary farmer, Old MacDonald. E-I-E-I-O. Y'all have a great day and enjoy the Ag festivities.
I bet it's always fun at your house. All right, well, let's get on with the calendar, and then we'll go to the Ag Day festivities after we deal with the two items we have on the calendar. First up, we have House Bill 2842 by Representative Vital. You are properly before the committee with a motion and a second, but I do see an amendment with the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, drafting code 014982.
We have a motion, and we have a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Would it be okay with you if we put the amendment on the bill? And then,
Correct. Thank you.
all right, without objection, we'll be voting to put amendment 14982 on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The bill's amended. You're recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. It's an honor to be here on Ag Day, and I wished I had a real exciting agricultural bill for all of our special guests here, especially these young people, but you're going to see specifically how simple sometimes the things in the legislature that come before these committees. So House Bill 2842 is a bill, was originally introduced as a caption bill, as amended, would clarify the activities covered under the agriculture exemption of the Water Quality Control Act as it relates to rock removal versus rock harvesting. TDEC was gracious enough to help draft this amendment, helps clarify it, and I appreciate your support. Thank you. If you have any questions, TDEC's here to help us.
Do we have any questions for the bill? Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Yes, Sponsor, would you share with us maybe what the differences are that are going to be going forward if we pass this bill?
You're recognized.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rock removal is the simple removal of rocks on your farm or property. Rock harvesting is a commercial application.
Simple enough. Any other questions? Question been called on the bill. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll be voting on sending House Bill 2842 as amended to full committee. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for being here, and you're more than welcome to hang around and watch the festivities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Next on the list, we have House Bill, item number 2, by Representative Lynn, House Bill 2860. We have a motion and we have a second. You are properly before the committee. Representative Lynn, you have no amendment, correct?
I have no amendment.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Our sister state, Florida, is like-minded with us here in Tennessee, and we often pass legislation that they soon adopt and vice versa. And this bill has actually recently passed the Florida legislature and will soon become law. And here is what the bill does. The bill would make it unlawful for any person to manufacture, sell, or deliver, hold, or offer for sale lab-grown or cultivated meat for human consumption. Any violation of this prohibition would be subject to criminal and administrative penalties. Cultivated meat is any meat or food product produced from a cultured animal cell. And you may wonder, is this a Republican issue? Why is she bringing this? What about the free market? Without question, our desire is to preserve and defend the free market. However, this committee, perhaps above all other committees in this legislature, knows well government's role in protecting and preserving a safe and secure food supply. In fact, the very role of government, as we know, is to provide a safe and secure environment for our society to thrive. In this matter, the reason that we are planning on this type of action is because it's simply just too soon and too dangerous to allow this process to move forward before we know what sort of effects cultivated meat may have on people. The first question is one of ethics. Is this semi-cloning? We have no idea really where this is going. What happens when you create lab-grown meat? Although you might hear it's cultivated meat, it's truly lab-grown meat. What happens is they take cells from a cow, and what they do is slice open a female cow and take out her embryo and take out her stem cells and then process those to create something that grows inside of what is essentially a vat. And inside the vat, these cells grow for months on end, weeks on end. The other way they do it is using something called an immortalized cell. You ask, what is an immortalized cell? You may know it better as a cancer cell. It's a cell that continues to replicate itself without end. The only times we've ever seen cells that do that are in cancer cells. So they use one of those two lines, an immortalized cell or a cell from an embryo, a calf embryo, to create what is called meat inside of a lab. But what we don't know are the effects of these processes. We do not know the effect of consuming an immortalized cell will have on the human body. We do not know the effect over the next 5 years, 10 years, or 25 years. And we as Tennesseans, we're not willing to allow our citizens to be used as guinea pigs. They may believe that they know what combination of nutrients, amino acids, enzymes are needed to produce this meat and make it as similar to real meat, but we really don't know what we do not know. And it can take years to learn from our mistakes. The FDA has a history of approving medications and treatments only to retract them due to horrible adverse circumstances, effects that kill you fast and other effects that kill you slowly. We simply do not know. And sir, that is the bill.
Thank you, Representative Lynn. I have a couple of people that want to ask you a few questions.
Oh, sure.
Representative Hosey, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the bill.
Thank you.
I think the Nuremberg Code was all set up so you wouldn't experiment on human people with new products or new experimentations without it being tested and tried and found out what it can do and what it can't do. We just came through COVID with an experimental shot that had a whole lot more problems than anybody want to talk about, but I appreciate you running the bill. I've said it before. Some folks probably like to eat bugs with Bill Gates, but not me, and I appreciate your bill very much. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chairman Hosey. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You probably answered this, but can you be a little clear about the cell cultured food product? Just can you clarify that statement a little bit?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, they gather cells from a cow and they get them growing in a petri dish, and then they move it to a vat. And inside the vat, they will put nutrients and other liquid environment. Of course, when the meat is growing, much like an embryo, when it's growing in the womb, it produces waste, and that waste has to be done away with. Well, a mother's body perfectly knows how to get rid of that waste with rare exception. And so we don't know how well they would be able to do this. We don't know the effects of consuming sort of an immortalized cell. They would just keep this growing and growing inside the vat and slice off a little bit whenever they felt like it was time to sell it. But what we do know is that a cow roaming in the fields, drinking fresh water, sunshine, and eating what cows eat, we know that meat grows, that it's perfectly fine. We've been consuming that meat forever, and you see little reason to change that. Tennessee is the 24th state when it comes to meat production of cows, and we certainly make enough to feed all of our people.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my friend Representative Lynn for coming to meet with us about this bill prior to session today. I honestly had to do some research on this lab-grown meat, because when I think of lab-grown meat, I thought about, what they give us at Taco Bell or McDonald's. I feel like that might be some lab-grown meat. And so just trying to understand the science and just was trying to see, is there anywhere in Tennessee where this is in the grocery store now? Just trying to understand if this is an issue that we've already experienced. Is this in our grocery stores, or are people trying to sell this in restaurants? Do you know of any cases in Tennessee where this is happening?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know of any cases in Tennessee right now. This is an emerging issue. And if we don't get ahead of this issue, what we will have is this going on. And then how do you pull back when there's been the huge investment made? How do you pull back? How do you turn the train around? How do you fix any damage that's been done?
Recognize.
And then just my second question was, has our Department of Agriculture had any position on this bill, or have you talked to them about the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, what they think about this legislation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was in Commerce, the committee before this, my assistant texted me and told me that they had just stopped by the office to talk about the bill. And I texted back humorously, well, they're a little late because it's running in just a few minutes. It was literally just a few minutes. So no, they didn't make an effort before today and before just a few minutes before committee to come and talk to me about the bill.
Director.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Representative Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Ty. Chairman Ty.
Thank you. One of the concerns I have about going in this direction with anything of just having a concept and stepping out and saying we're opposed to this and we're going to outlaw it before we know much about it, before the trusted organizations that we have, like our own Department of Agriculture, to make sure that our food's safe and comes in at the proper weights that we think it is, and all the things they do. Before they even have a chance to look at an emerging market, as you mentioned, it's just concerning to me to limit something that some people could desire and want. And I know I have family members that have kind of experimented with a vegan diet and tout that as something very healthy. It's not something that works for me, but I want them to be free to do that, and would not want to do something to obviously this is a different category, but something similar that I would consider unusual, but they feel like it's perfectly safe for them to have that type of diet. So this is, as you said, it's emerging and we don't really know what it's going to be. And I just have some concerns about literally an outright ban on it in the state. And I'm not that familiar with Florida. You and I've talked about it. I knew they had done that. But and a lot of times we do things similarly. Our laws are set up a little bit differently. So we always look at what those differences are. But in this situation, it does concern me. And I'm kind of like Chairman Grills has told me about other topics. If there's a debate going on and you're kind of 50-50, you always err on the side of freedom and liberty and allowing people to make that choice for themselves. And so, for me, that's kind of where I'm coming out on this, but I'm anxious to hear the other questions and comments as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Chairman Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Lady Lynn, I appreciate this piece of legislation. As a honored farmer and beef producer in the state, and then I see many of my other farmer friends out in the audience that produce beef as well. It's concerning to me and confusing to the general public when we go out there and we either at a restaurant or a grocery store and we see the advertisement for meat, and then we find out it's all vegetables. It's something other than. And it's the same thing. You go to the dairy section and you find stuff on the shelf that they call it milk, and it's almond milk or whatever, soy milk, and instead of being dairy cow milk, and that concerns me as well. Every morning I try to check in on Ag Market News Report, and interesting enough, on the House floor we spoke, but that news hour said, well, it's the Florida has passed this, waiting for the governor's signature on that. 13 other states are currently looking at it. And what was perplexing to me after that, they were showing that different beef parts being added with rice, and they were showing a diagram at how this is going to take place. And I gasped and I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. And of course, we know every year to the members on this committee, we mess things up and we'll come back the next year and fix that. But there needs to be a hard stop in a conversation because of CDC, because of FDA. It's some of the things that the general public think is safe for us to consume. And then, like you said in your reporting, that we find out that was detrimental one way or the other. And of course, a well-balanced diet, and we're finding out from nutritionists and all of that, over-processed foods, and this was in that
Yeah.
report too, saying
Mhm.
we have created health problems for our citizens across this country with over-processed foods and health consequences. And I think with eating wholesome fruits, vegetables, red meat in your diet, and you're going to live better and longer without destroying yourself with cancer. And that's what the sad aspect of it. Many things that, and hopefully people are listening out there, the high fructose corn syrup. I mean, there's so many things. We look at the label that's added to make it feel better, taste better, everything else. But at the end of the day, we find we have a health problem. So I will be supporting this bill, and certainly I understand the rights of individuals, but we need to slow walk what the scientists are doing with this and have more research done. And of course, Chairman Holsey talking about the COVID shot, and it's the Surgeon General in Florida come out in a report saying everybody stop taking the COVID shot because we're finding out that we're hurting more than we're helping.
Yeah.
And so let's not rush things. And I think this is a good way to get that done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two kind of quick questions. As we talked about this, and as you give your description early on, you talked about cell division and how an animal grows, whether it's in utero or after the animal starts to mature outside the mother. It's all about blood flow through blood
Yes.
vessels, and then those excretions from the growth process are taking care of a natural process. And I don't think I understand how the excretions from this Franken meat is gotten rid of.
Right.
And I use that term purposefully because when you started to describe this to me, I thought of the Frankenstein movies, and we're doing something
Right.
that's unnatural. And so I too am fully supportive in us putting a hard stop on this until we know more about it. Certainly, science has proven over time that we can do wonderful things. We're created to do wonderful things. But what part of your bill that caught my attention, I guess this is the question part. There's a preventative measure, I think, that we would not be, as Tennessee consumers, perhaps have this material mixed in with real meat and
Right.
sold as something else. Will your bill stop that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing it.
You recognize.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can add, this is a very important preventative measure. We don't know the effects of this manufacture and of consumption. I have a list here of 16 medications that the FDA approved and then after some time took off the market because they were proved to have extremely dangerous side effects. Drugs like Prevacid, Nexium, Prilosec, Protonix, ranitidine was on the market for 40 years, and they knew it was causing tumors. They knew it. And there's many other drugs like Seldane, Fen-Phen, things like that. One other drug I have on here, I hand wrote it in, is cigarettes. There was a time when the FDA, the federal government, told us cigarettes were safe for a very long time until they just couldn't deny the evidence anymore. And so now there's a warning on every single cigarette package. Unfortunately, my parents got addicted before that happened, and they both died very young in their 60s. I will be 60 in April, and I can't imagine, leaving this earth now. But once these things get on the market, it's very, very hard to turn that ship around. And so I hope that Tennessee will vote to be prudent. Of course, we could always come back next year and say, hey, it's perfectly safe. They've proved it. I think it may take a little bit longer than that, but I hope that this committee will put a hard stop on this so that we can have it proven to us.
Representative Lynn, is there any place in the country now that this meat is actually, or quote unquote meat is actually sold or marketed?
I do not know that. There may be, how new products will come out with a sample market. So I can't say that there's not a sample market.
My research, I have not seen any place that has these types of meat in quotation marks for sale. But I do know that that's something that they're working on, and I too agree with you. I'm fearful for it. But I do know that we had a bill earlier this year that wanted to have some type of labeling on that, and I believe that bill was sent to summer study, not just to kill the bill, but to actually study it out. And I know that there's been some different people. I think the Farm Bureau folks are looking into this pretty extensively to try to make sure that we do the right thing, because we want to make sure that we know what we're eating. And everyone, when you go buy something, you can look on the label and it will tell you what's in it. That's just a comment I had. Representative Travis, you're next on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Representative Lynn. We talked about this on the House floor last night, and I mentioned that there was another bill that was in this committee about the same thing, and it was but I want to go first. If my 8-year-old granddaughter was sitting here today, she would probably say that is gross. It is tough. But I do believe that the bill that we heard was the same kind of bill. And I do believe in that bill. And we sent that to summer study to look at all the facts, to see who's producing this meat, to see if they're going to produce this meat. We'll be back here in 10 months.
Forgive me.
It's okay. Birds are calling. So with that, I would think that we would take your bill and that bill and send it to a summer study. So I would make a motion that this bill will go to the summer study, a true summer study for this coming year. So I'll make that motion, sir.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have an objection. We need to. So we have a motion and we have an objection. All in favor of moving forward with the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. Now we're back on the motion to send this bill to summer study as Representative Travis recommended. All in favor of sending this bill to summer study, say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Ayes have it. But I want to go on the record here. Chairman Todd, you're the chairman of the full committee. I'm chairman of this committee. It's our intention, everyone up here, to make sure that this thing is looked at seriously over the next 10 months, not just to talk about, but looked at, because we want to make sure that everybody in Tennessee is protected and we know what we're eating when we go to the store and buy our food. Thank you, Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, committee, for that. Now that concludes our calendar. Now we have some activities, the Ag Day activities, and let me make sure I've got everything in line here. I want to start off by recognizing some folks that have worked so hard. If I can find my paperwork, that have worked so hard to make sure that we have the Ag Day got off without a hitch. And now, there we go. First off, these are just some folks that need to, if you're in the room, I wish you'd just raise your hand. Mr. Lee Maddox, raise your hand. I got Lee over here. Mr. Jimmy Ogilvy, Andy Holt, Miss Carol McDonald, Lily Doyett. Lily, where are you at? I saw you. Okay. Phyllis Ferguson, Melinda Perkins, Tracy Rafferty, Tanya Keller, Shelby Benoit, and all of our industry partners and stakeholders whose participation made this event possible. So just give them a round of applause. And my assistant who's not with us right now, he's a little bit under the weather, but he's still running around here. Kyle Faulkner, he's been just great, and I've had to work with him. I know Shelby and Kyle talk more than Shelby and Cody the last 2 weeks, but thank you, Kyle, for your efforts. And also the facilities crew, Patrick Kelly, Kelly Crowson, Amanda McLean, Josh Church, and all our security and the troopers for making the event go off without a hitch, and the safety that they provided for us. Now, I would like to also now go out of session. We're out of session, and bring up the 4 people that are going to speak. Mr. Alan Meadows, Ms. Rodonna Rose, Ms. Laney Hutchison, and Ms. Katie Collins. If y'all would come up to the podium or to the chairs, and we're out of session, and we're going to allow y'all to make a few statements. We'll give y'all about 4 minutes apiece. And then Alan, looks like they're going to beat you. Okay, Ms. Verdonna's gonna give you some company. So we're gonna give you guys, guys and gals, 4 minutes apiece to make an opening statement, and then we'll start over here, we'll go this way. Please state your name and who you're representing, and then when we get done, we'll ask questions. Is that okay? Ms. Katie, you're,
I'm Katie Collins.
hit that, pull your mic down and, yes, thank you. You have 4 minutes.
Hi, I'm Katie Collins, a proud Tennessee 4-H alum from Charlotte, Tennessee. Tennessee 4-H is the nation's largest school-based program, reaching 152,000 active members and over 5,000 clubs. This past summer, 6,000 youth participated in 4-H summer camps, and 16,000 youth attended STEM enrichment programs at one of the 4-H centers. Tennessee 4-H has allowed me to be the person I am today. Growing up on my family's dairy farm, I've always been interested in animals and agriculture. However, I lacked confidence and a sense of belonging. 4-H provided me a space to belong, not because of what I looked like on the outside, but because of who I was on the inside. 4-H helped me discover that everyone has a diverse background, and it's best to be yourself. Diverse programming offered through Tennessee 4-H helped me to find my space to grow outside of my comfort zone, discover my spark of creating a space for others, and gaining the knowledge and skills needed to reach my goals. During my first year of high school, I represented 4-H at a local elementary school for Tennessee's Agriculture Literacy Week. While reading a book called How'd That Get in My Lunchbox, I shared my childhood experiences of growing up on a dairy farm. The students expressed their need for more understanding of agriculture and where their food came from. As I shared stories of living on a farm and my future goal of attending a 4-year university to study agriculture business, with the ultimate plan of becoming an agriculture attorney, students became enthusiastic and excited to learn more about agriculture, farming, and the environment around them. I vividly remember a little girl named Camille, a girl who looked like me, raised her hand and said, "I love science and animals too, but I can't be a farmer or work in the agriculture industry because I live in an apartment." As a 4-H Honor Club president and representative at large on Tennessee 4-H State Council, I developed and honed my communication and leadership skills while working closely with my 4-H agent to concept and create a program called See Yourself in Agriculture, designed to expose diverse youth to many aspects of agriculture and agriculture-related careers. The program also focused on empowering youth by highlighting the importance of hard work, resiliency, and individuality, which are skills often found in the agriculture industry. The program uses a wider lens to look at agriculture and expose 4-Hers to the breadth of the industry, not only the crops and animals, but the science, economics, and public policy behind it. See Yourself in Agriculture reached over 1,000 4-Hers through 12 project trips and introduced students to 4 farms and 8 industries. Seeing an increased number of girls and students of color attending my program has invigorated my hope for the future generations will experiencing the diversity of the agriculture industry. These efforts made me the 2024 National 4-H Council's Youth in Action winner, a first in Tennessee 4-H history. I'm grateful for a platform, sense of belonging, and voice 4-H has given me. On behalf of over 152,000 4-Hers across 95 counties in Tennessee and myself, we thank you all for your continued support of 4-H, and a special thank you to the House Ag Committee for allowing me to share my 4-H impact with you today. Thank you.
And thank you for being here. Ms. Hutchinson, you're recognized now.
My name is Lainey Hutchison. And
Would you turn your mic on, please? Is the red light on?
Is it good now?
Yes.
My name is Lainey Hutchison, and I am a sophomore at the University of Tennessee at Martin. My major is Farm and Ranch Management, and I'm a member of the Skyhawk Rodeo team. I grew up in West Tennessee in Crockett County. I attended Crockett County High School, where I was a member of FFA for 4 years. While in FFA, I competed in many different competitions such as Star Green Hand, Star in Agribusiness, Parliamentary Procedure, Livestock, and Horse Judging. I grew up on my family's farm where I spent countless hours following my dad's every step. We have a cow-calf operation, which is where I developed my love for animals and agriculture. I began riding horses at 3 years old and began participating in the sport of rodeo by the time I was in the 3rd grade. My passion for the sport has continued to grow throughout middle and high school. Rodeo opened many doors for me to develop a work ethic, responsibility, build relationships, and learn to persevere. My FFA advisor, Ms. Haley Williams, took notice of how I spent my free time. At 14, I began giving horse lessons to a couple of girls in my community. Then, in 2020, when the pandemic broke out, my mom and I discussed hosting a farm camp, which would give children the opportunity to experience what I do every day, which is life on the farm. Children were ready to get out of the house, and parents were ready for them to start having experiences again. Camp focused on all areas of our farm, including cow and herd management, livestock care, goat milking, vaccinations for all animals, and horseback riding. We conducted 3 camps that summer for ages 7 to 12 with 20 students with waiting lists for each. This camp allowed the community to experience our farm and witness my talents, which is how my agribusiness began to grow. After the camp experience, parents began contacting me because their children wanted to spend more time on the farm. It was during this time that I realized I can make a full-time job sharing what I love. This is when I took the love of horses and rodeo and began building my FFA supervised agricultural experience. During my senior year of high school, my advisor encouraged me to compete at the state level for Star in Agribusiness. In the spring of 2022, I won this award. In 2023, my advisor, Ms. Haley Williams, once again encouraged me to compete at the national level. To my surprise, I was the recipient of the American Star in Agribusiness in November of 2023. This award has opened many doors for me to share my love and passion for agriculture. Competing for this award and being a member of the FFA has provided many life skills through the preparation, interview process, media outlets, and relationships built through this process. I would like to thank my advisors, Governor Lee, and the Tennessee General Assembly for your dedication and support to the FFA organization.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. I believe your parents are with you here today as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to introduce them?
Stand up.
Yeah.
This
Tell
is
it-
my mom and dad, Amy and Chad Hutchinson.
I'm sure they have supported you all along the way.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you for bringing. Ms. Collins, I didn't ask you, do you have a guest with you? You came, okay. Miss Radonna Rose is next, and she's no stranger around here. Everyone knows who she is, but she's devoted her life to fighting for property rights and fighting for the farming way of living. So we appreciate your efforts you've put forth for the past several years, and just thank you for being here with us today, and we appreciate all the hard work you've put forth.
Am I on?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
working? Thank you. And I appreciate it. Unlike the young ladies, I guess I have to stand up to kick my brain in gear a little bit, if any of y'all understand that. But thank you very much for inviting me to be here with you today. And thank you all for celebrating Ag Day. I feel a little bit like a 5-year-old at a birthday party today. It just invigorates me to think that, yes, there is a positive future for agriculture. So thank you all for that celebration, and I appreciate it very much. Now, I brought with me an apple because I want to make 3 points today, and this apple is going to help me make all 3 of those points, kind of like E-I-E-I-O. But it's all going to be an apple, okay? First, I want you to think about this apple from a standpoint of it is one of the first crops that farmers ever farmed on our world. It dates back to 8,000 years ago in Asia when farmers started raising apples. Now think about that. But I also want you to think about this apple from a standpoint that it's food. It's the essence of our life to have food and how important that is for all of us. Apples have become somewhat symbolic of knowledge, but also of a healthy lifestyle. You know, you think back to the 19th century when the slogan was coined, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." And I bet every one of you all grew up listening to that and hearing it regularly. And there's a lot of truth to the health of the natural apple that we eat. But there's a lot of knowledge in it as well. And you think about in school systems today where the apple is often used in educational, from an educational standpoint in getting knowledge across. In agriculture, we endure a lot of misinformation from time to time. And so it's incumbent on all of us here to make sure that the factual information is really out there and that folks understand it. You know, factual information, such as 98% of farms in this country are owned by families. Only 2% is not owned by families. 98% is owned by families. As a female to stand here, it's important to me to say not all farmers are men. Did you know 36% of farmers are females today? Not all farmers are rich, nor are all farmers poor. It's a good way to make a living, but it's a hard way to make a living. And we hear it often within agriculture that 1,000 things have to go right. One thing goes wrong, and it can affect your entire year of profitability in agriculture. And I think that's something that the general public needs to keep in mind and remember about what it is that the farmers in the agricultural industry does for all of us. Because most of us don't have to give it a thought any day that our food's going to be there for us when we want it, because our agricultural system works. The second point with this apple, I want you to think about how many people were involved in this apple from the production until the point it gets to the consumer's hand. You know, we're blessed in the United States of America with a wonderful agricultural and farming sector, but we've got a great group of ag industry partners. And out there on the plaza today, you all saw all of the ag industry partners come together as one to support the ag industry. Farmers need the entire ag industry partner group. The entire ag industry partner group needs strong farms and a strong agricultural industry because they all depend on each other. And that includes from the feed seed suppliers, the retailers, the manufacturers of the equipment that we use, to the researchers and the scientists that are giving us better ways to produce crops every day. They're all important. Farmers today are producing 300% more than we did in 1950 on less land with less farmers and less resources. Now think about that. And a large part of that because of our land grant universities. Is my time up? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh gosh.
How
I
much more you
won't
need?
do my last
How much
one.
more
I
you
was
need?
gonna
Hurry up.
slice it.
We'll give you 30
All right,
more.
I'm going to slice my apple, but gosh, I've got to say this. I
Well-
asked somebody to bring me a paring knife to slice the apple. I'm going to tell all of you all, I am single, and I've heard that it's because I didn't learn to cook, but I know a paring knife, okay?
We'll come back to you in just a second.
Okay.
You hold that thought.
All right.
Mr. Alan Meadows is a farmer from Chris Hertz district over there in the Halls area, and he has his wife and kids with him. If you'd like to introduce them, Alan, before we get started, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. My wife, Jamie, would stand, and my 3 kids. Kate is my oldest, Jill, and Trip.
And Alan and his wife Jamie, they are the reasons we had a bill on the floor. We'll have a bill on the floor Thursday about hardship license. He's one of the people that brought that to our attention. So that's how the legislative process works, and we're going to try to fix you up.
Good deal.
But go ahead and tell us what farming's like in your part of the world, Mr.
All right.
Meadows.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My family are honored to be here. And as a farmer, first of all, I want to say thank you to the leadership of the House and Senate for celebrating agriculture in Tennessee. As it was mentioned, I'm a 4th-generation farmer from West Tennessee, growing corn, soybeans, and occasionally some winter wheat. I've had the opportunity to serve in leadership in both Tennessee Soybean Association and currently on the board of directors for the American Soybean Association. And that gives me the opportunity to know farmers from all across this nation. Whether you farm in Florida or Minnesota, California or North Carolina, the first day of spring is truly a special day. A terminology you'll hear commodity traders use is old crop and new crop. So old crop is used to identify what we harvested in 23, but putting in the ground that will theoretically run out sometime by the end of this year. New crop is what we'll be putting in the ground in just a few weeks to be harvested this fall and used throughout 2025. So feeding and clothing our nation and nations around the world next year depends on spring. And when you really think about it, today is a very special day for everybody on this earth. I mentioned other nations because Tennessee farmers are in a very global economy. On a daily basis, I follow weather in South America, diplomatic relations with countries such as China and the EU, wars in places like the Ukraine and the Middle East, and international economic conditions. I do this because my planning and marketing decisions are influenced by a wide range of global factors. It's estimated that the agroforestry industrial complex directly and indirectly contributed over $89 billion to the Tennessee economy. This translates into approximately 11% of the economic activity in the state. Much of this activity is through exports of either raw commodities or processed products. I cannot stress enough the role Tennessee ag plays in our larger global economy, not to mention the global nutrition, living standards, and food security. We have a very good business climate to farm in Tennessee. We fully recognize and appreciate the legislature making sound public policy decisions, which allows Tennesseans to enjoy this business climate. The nature of farming has always been situations where we have good years and bad. For example, net farm income was $1.5 billion in 2022, but in 2018 it was just $306 million. The net farm income ratio from 17 to 22 ranged from 7% to 31%. This means that some years that our return on investment in a crop or livestock was in the single digits. Now, interest rates, inflations, and labor costs have severely reduced those numbers. A low tax, low regulatory cost business environment is extremely important to our survival. Also want to thank the House and Senate for passing HJR 937. Throughout human history, man has fought disease, insects, and weeds of all types. Just last week, I had the opportunity to meet with EPA officials and USDA Office of Pest Management staff to discuss what feels like an ongoing attack on safe and effective crop protection products. We strongly urge federal officials to work with the ag community before making regulatory decisions which have major consequences. Without modern technology such as dicamba, we cannot produce a crop. We appreciate the Tennessee legislature recognizing the impact of that Arizona court decision and supporting our Tennessee farmers' ability to use the modern technology. Mr. Chairman, as you know, farming is a proud and noble occupation, but it comes with major responsibility and a good degree of uncertainty. All across the state, farmers are working as I speak to prepare for that new crop. We're thankful and humbled that this distinguished body would pause and celebrate everyone who works in agriculture on this first day of spring. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here and participating. Do we have any questions for the panel? Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And go ahead and do something with that knife.
Wear it out. Just don't throw it at anyone.
All right. Now, and I'm going to be very careful, but I want y'all to imagine, I already cut it, so it'll go faster. I want you to imagine the apple is the world we live on, okay? Think about that. I'm going to set 3/4 of that apple aside because that represents the water of our earth. Only 1/4 of our land area or our world is made up of land area. Only 1/4. Now, this is an ag in the classroom. Chris Fleming's here, an ag in the classroom example that really drives this home. If I divide that last quarter in half, do you know what size pieces I have? 1/8. I have 2 pieces that are 1/8. But I'm going to set 1/8 of those aside because you see that's land area. But guess what? We can't grow food there. It's areas like the Arctic, the Antarctic, the highly mountainous regions. We can't grow food there, which leaves us with 1/8 of our world that's suitable for growing food and fiber. I'm going to I cut those into 4 equal pieces, which if I was testing to see if y'all were mathematicians, that's 1/32 in size now. I'm going to set 3 of those aside because you see it's land area. It's land area where man can live, but we can't grow food and fiber. Leaves 1/32 of our world that's suitable for growing food and fiber. We are blessed in the United States of America in that 10% of the arable lands of this world are located in the United States of America. We're blessed by that, and we need to take care of that. Representative Grills is carrying a bill this year that's really important on protecting the ag lands of this world. And I think that's something that we have to pay very close attention to. I could take this a step farther, peel the peeling off. That represents the soil of our world that's suitable for growing food and fiber. Our farmers have done an excellent job. They've cut soil erosion in half since 1980 in order to protect those natural resources. But folks, here's the scary part. We've already heard mentioned the fact of being 60 years old today. Do you realize that today, 40% of the farmland in this country is owned by people over the age of 60 years old? We have more people farming over the age of 60 than under the age of 35. We've got to look forward for this future. Do you know when farmland is most vulnerable to change to a non-farm use? When it changes from one generation to the next. We're 2 decades from over half of our farmland changing hands. I appreciate what you all are doing and focusing on the future for these young folks so they have access to land to farm for our future. With that, I'll shut up.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And-
much.
I wish you would take that apple and that example over to the Senate and let them see how important that bill is. I want to ask a couple of questions here, and Mr. Meadows and I, we're friends, and we kind of do the same thing back home. But just, Alan, if you don't mind, explain to the audience and the committee, what are some of the trials and some of the things that you have to overcome on a daily basis, and some of the things that really affect your industry and your livelihood?
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you probably the biggest thing is weather to start with. That we were talking about, there's a lot of things that have to go right. It only takes one to go wrong. So, weather on a day-to-day basis is definitely one of our biggest challenges. But, further down from that, Mr. Chairman, I would tell you that one of the biggest things that we've got facing us now is our regulatory burden as farmers. The different things that are being enacted, whether, I've had a chance to serve as regulatory chairman there at ASA for the last couple of years. And, I had a chance to sit in with EPA and talk Endangered Species Act and stuff like that. Endangered Species Act and the implementation of it through the use of pesticide labels and stuff, it's really getting to be, could become even more of an issue for us moving forward.
And you brought up the dicamba, obviously the HJR that we passed here a few weeks ago, recognize the importance of it. I know you've been in DC testifying before Congress on those type of issues. Can you just fill us in just a little bit if you don't mind?
Yeah. So, all right, where do we want to start? Let's go. I had a vacature on February the 6th. Product was vacated in Arizona. And anyhow, so stop sale of all the products, but EPA issued an existing stocks order, which y'all supported, basically saying that any product that was in the pipeline would be allowed to be used this year so that we could continue on with that genetics this year and be able to produce a crop, hopefully, as normal as possible. Moving forward, that label is going to be back up for to be reissued. So there's some concerns there, how it looks going forward, dealing with the vacature and stuff such as that.
So if you don't have this product to use on an annual basis, what happens?
So I like to tell everybody when I'm talking, especially in DC, that if you look up the epicenter of weed resistance, welcome to rural West Tennessee, right? It started out with glyphosate resistance, and we've went through glufosinate resistance and different things. So without this product moving forward, it becomes very hard for me to grow a crop that I know and love and have always been somewhat successful with. But without this product, it becomes a challenge.
Okay. Any other questions, Representative Reedy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, to the young ladies in the audience, Radonna, as these young ladies were speaking, I could just see that you were glowing and having memories of your past. And we appreciate what you have done for the state of Tennessee. I truly do. And of course, with my family, my farm, it's, inherited on my wife's side, fourth generation farmers as well. And that's where we keep looking to our kids. And I see more of my two daughters more interested than my oldest is a son. And of course, he said, well, Dad, when I turn 40, I'll come back to the farm. And it's like, kid, you're breaking my heart. But Alan, to you and what you have, as I've already stated, I watched the ag market reports and, of course, looking at cattle price saying, oh, my gosh, here I've got to make a decision. We cut the herd out, going to wean the calves, and they're going to go to market. But how many mama cows should I get rid of? And where I'm going with this is while you were in Washington, D.C., and of course, I heard that the committees that we're talking about, the next farm bill just decided we're going to stop talking about it. And it's like, oh my gosh, we send you to Washington, D.C. as elected officials to do our bidding on what's going on. And I'm assuming, tell me, so with that, we're just going to roll the current bill and just roll it for another year.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, they've passed a 1-year extension.
And what are your thoughts? Where are we headed to? I mean, is it more up to just Tennessee deciding what we need to do for our farmers and just forget about Washington, D.C.?
Well, it has become increasingly frustrating that we can't seem to come together on a very bipartisan issue for the most part, that we can't come together and move forward with a farm bill just to give, some certainty. We talked about weather, we talked about markets, we can talk about global markets, and there's just a lot of things that are very uncertain that the farm bill. It's a safety net. And, so it has become increasingly frustrating that we can't seem to come together on each side of the aisle and pass something that I think, could be very beneficial to everyone involved.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I just want to address the young people in the audience. It's me and my colleagues up here will not be here forever. And we see you young people that are here today as the next generation that will be the leadership of our state, of our country. Kudos staying in ag. I grew up an Idaho farm boy on a postage stamp farm, and that's where I got my start, and just so thankful to God for everything I've got, with my family farm and everything in my life. And excited to serve you as a lawmaker, as a state representative. But I better stop there. I'm going to get emotional on this whole issue of agriculture because that's what I love. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to your point about the dicamba and other products that get regulated really heavily, and obviously we want products to be safe. And I guess I want to bring this home a little bit, just so the folks that are watching back home that might not draw the connection of the dots. There are lots of chemicals we use on our lawns so that we have really pretty grass and not, try to eliminate the weeds as much as we can. And that's more of an aesthetic thing. But in your situation and Chairman Grill's situation, if you don't have the right products killing those weeds, your production goes way down or goes away. It's literally not just an aesthetics deal. It's whether you make a profit or not, whether you provide food for that grocery store or not. And as we know in the biblical principle that the weeds will grow up and choke it out. And that's exactly what you're facing. And so we certainly feel for you there and join you in that struggle to make sure that you have the tools necessary to continue that fight. So appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. And Mr. Chairman, if I might also take a point to recognize someone we didn't recognize earlier.
Please.
That joins us frequently, and that is Weston Watts. He's the field representative for Congressman Mark Green, who is the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee in D.C. And we appreciate him being here, and we appreciate Congressman Green looking out for us in this role, and look forward to continuing conversations with him. Obviously, he came from the Tennessee General Assembly, and we don't have to show him how to do things right. He already knew that when he went, but he's certainly sharing that wisdom with the folks in D.C., and they need a lot of it. So thank you all for being here.
Do we have any more questions for the Chairman Darby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not any questions. I appreciate the presenters coming here today. Y'all have answered lots of questions here. This is more of a statement here. Some of y'all, I was fortunate enough to get to come to my office, and I got to talk with some of y'all. But the American dream is alive and well, especially with what's sitting here in this class or in this committee. We don't always hear about the good things, and we don't always hear about roses and rainbows here in the States, but or here in Tennessee. But a smiling group of young kids, young adults, and with a gleam in their eye and with direction. It's a shot in the arm to all of us, and I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Representative Fritz, did I see your hand up? Okay. All right. Seeing no more questions. All right. We're done with the panel here. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And I did not recognize the fact that Miss Laney Hutchison is a 2023 National FFA Star Agribusiness winner, and that Miss Katie Collins is the 2023 4-H National Youth in Action Award winner. So I am sorry I did not recognize that right off the bat, but thank you for being here, and congratulations to y'all's success. As y'all sit down, Miss Shelby is going to show a video that's going to bring recognition to Mr. Matthew McClanahan and Mr. Justin Hargrove, and on the accomplishments they've just accomplished back in January at the National Farm Bureau Conference. So real quick, Shelby, take it away.
The Excellence in Ag Award goes to Justin Hargrove of Tennessee.
Whenever I got up there and called my name, it was a flood of emotions, man, and it was really just an absolute honor to be able to stand there with that caliber of young farmers and to represent Tennessee at the national level. And it's just, man, it's been a wild ride, I tell you.
The discussion meet champion and winner of $35,000 in credit towards a new Ford vehicle is Matthew McClanahan of Tennessee.
Well, first of all, I'd like to give all the credit to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and just humbled for the ability to be able to stand at the stage. And I'm just so thankful for Farm Bureau and all the wonderful opportunities to meet people and the relationships that I've built over the years. At 35 years old, this is my last hurrah on Young Farmers and Ranchers. And I'm just so thankful to be able to stand and represent Tennessee at the national stage and to be able to bring this national championship home to Tennessee. I share it with every Tennessee Farm Bureau member.
There's been so much support and encouragement that's been poured into this that it's just really overwhelming. And my name might be on that truck, but it's Tennessee that's helped me to get here, and it's Tennessee's title, man, and I'm tickled to death to be able to be a representative for our state.
I'm honored beyond measure and can't fully articulate in words what it means to be able to stand here and represent the state of Tennessee. And that was my goal coming in, was to represent Tennessee well, win, lose, or draw. And I'm glad to be able to come home holding my head high as national champion.
I personally know both of these young men, and they are fantastic individuals. I'm proud to call them friends, and I'm so happy for you guys to go home with that. Be the only way I can buy a new vehicle if I want something, something like that. I want to thank, congratulate Matthew, Justin, Laney, Katie, and for all they've accomplished. But there's also another person that I've overlooked today, and that's Miss Ella McLaren from Clay County. Are you in here, Ella? Won't you stand up? She's a senior at University of Tennessee, and last week she took home national honors at the American Farm Bureau Collegiate Discussion Meet. So let's congratulate her as well. And not only that, there's also some youth livestock exhibitors that are here today. And I want, if you're that have received top honors, if you would, please stand up so we can give you a round of applause. And if you're not in here, okay. And I believe we overlooked Chancellor Carver. How you doing, buddy? All right, good to see you. And Miss Chandra Reddy, how do you say that last name? Okay, okay, thank you. Sorry, we're a little bit late there. Before we adjourn, Dr. Hatcher, you're here. It's not uncommon to see you slide in here, but it's always good to see you, and thank you for the work and the effort you put forth. And all of the industry partners, once again, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and the efforts that y'all put forth. On this committee over the past 3 months, we've had lots of work been put in by different folks, and Mr. Ethan Bledsoe, to my right, Jeremy Maxwell, research analyst. Tyler, you're awesome. Kyle, my assistant. Miss Lovin, she's fantastic. John, thank you so much for your work. I just appreciate all the efforts and the headache that y'all had to go through, because we've had some doozies, just to be honest with you. Thank you for the committee and all the efforts that y'all have put forth, because like I said, we've had from wetlands to lab grown meat to the different things that we've had to deal with, from vaccines, you just name it. We've had fun with it. I appreciate y'all's hospitality and the way that everyone in here has handled himself. Not anything that ever became hostile, and we can't say that about every committee, because that just attests to the character of the men and women on this committee. So I thank you for that. I got to go back into session. Without objection, we're back into session. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm the chairman. If we could get a motion to adjourn, the motion has been made to adjourn, and we are adjourned unless the chair calls us back into order. Thank y'all so much. I would love every person that participated today to meet us up front, because Lee would love to have a picture with everyone. Y'all socialize. Thank you much.